I mean, this was a pretty good episode with pretty sharp writing, but I still have one or two issues with it. But let's get to what I liked first. So first off, I really enjoyed some of the meta humor in the first 5 minutes, where, people on the internet are complaining about She-Hulk. Why don't they just come up with new superheroes instead of gender swapping the old ones? There's kind of a nice little meta commentary about trolls on the internet. I actually thought that was kind of clever and kind of funny. And I like when shows are a little bit self-aware. They're not afraid to kind of poke fun at themselves, not afraid to kind of poke fun at some of the issues that they're getting from the backlash they're enjoying. I really enjoyed that. I also enjoyed how this episode was mostly court case. There wasn't a lot of action in this episode. Not that there's a lot of action in the show overall. There was some action, towards the end with the mercenaries or whatever they were with the Asgardian technology. But most of this episode was court case, with She-Hulk defending Abomination, which I thought was great. And, of course, we have Wong. He's always awesome. And there's also that line that she says at the beginning, I know you're all excited for Wong to show up, but remember, this is still my show. I love how they're kind of poking fun at people who watch the show mainly just so they can see cameras from other people without focusing on, the main storyline. I thought that was so funny. Now, my biggest issue with this episode ultimately was the B story. Parts of it were fun. I liked the idea of somebody got swindled out of their money by an Asgardian shapeshifter that catfished him. But I find it kind of hypocritical that the person they chose to catfish him was Megan Thee Stallion. And what I mean by that is I find it hypocritical that this is supposed to be a show about strong, powerful women, but yet you have a subplot about Megan Thee Stallion, who I've heard of, but I'm not that familiar with. But I can already tell that just based on the first few minutes of this episode that she was in, that she's pretty trashy, at least as a performer. And if I were a father, I certainly would not want my daughters imitating or looking up to this person. And my point being with this is that the show's main message seems to be strong, powerful women, which is fine, but the message gets lost when you have people on the show like Megan Thee Stallion twerking with She-Hulk in the post-credit scene. It's kind of hypocritical, and you're kind of losing the message. So I enjoyed the A story, not so much the B story, and as much as they tried to very sloppily connect them, ultimately they should have cut it. This was a 20-minute episode, and I get maybe they needed that in for filler because there wasn't enough A story with the Abomination case, but you could have come up with literally anything else. The B story was so cringy. I kind of enjoyed the idea of, the catfishing Asgardian. That's funny, but Megan Thee Stallion, of all people, you couldn't have come up with somebody who's a lot less trashy? Really? I get it, he's trashy, she's trashy, that's kind of why they were attracted, but I don't know, anybody else, honestly. As much as they try to connect them, I think ultimately cutting it would have drastically improved this episode, and nothing of value would have been lost. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode. For the most part, I enjoyed it, but I had a few issues with it, and I already said before, so let me know what you guys thought.